The anime industry is worth over $24 billion, and more than 100 million people from all over the world watch anime. With these numbers, the anime studios should do quite well, but this is far from the truth. Low-paid work is just one of the many problems anime creators face in Japan. The next time you watch your favorite anime, think that someone worked hundreds of hours to make it on the minimum wage. Think about that for a second. Let that sink into your head for a moment, and then think about how much money you make in a month. Now consider what it's like to be an animator working hard every day to live off of, and not even get paid properly for your work. This is a big problem in the anime industry, and the cause is quite complex. But to understand better, let's begin with how anime is made. While the anime industry seems to be booming, with more popular shows and films being released every year, the success is hiding a disturbing underlying economic reality. Many animators behind the on-screen magic are broke and face working conditions that can lead to burnout and even suicide. The tension between a ruthless industry structure and anime's artistic idealism forces animators to suffer exploitation for art's sake with no clear solutions. Anime is almost entirely drawn by hand. It takes skill to create hand-drawn animation and experience to do it quickly. But there is a problem, because there are few skilled anime animators in Japan. And because of this, the industry relies heavily on a small group of talented individuals to produce the majority of anime that comes out of the country. This can be seen as positive or negative, depending on how you look at it. On the one hand, it allows for greater quality control and ensures that only the best anime make it to the air. On the other hand, it can be limiting for new and upcoming animators who need the connections or skills to break into the industry. So, the nearly 200 animated TV series made in Japan each year are created almost entirely by a large pool of unpaid freelancers passionate about anime. At the entry level are in-between animators, who are usually freelancers. They're the ones who make all the individual drawings, and after that, the top-level directors come up with the storyboards and the middle-tier key animators draw the important frames in each scene. In-between animators earn around 200 yen per drawing, less than $2. That wouldn't be so bad if each artist could crank out 200 pictures a day, but a single drawing can take more than an hour. That's not to mention anime's meticulous attention to details that are by and large ignored by animation in the West, like food, architecture, and landscape, which can take 4 or 5 times longer than average to draw. For these people, who have nothing but a wholehearted love for their craft, it shouldn't cost them their lives. Sadly, their only options are to die on this job with terrible conditions or quit because their dreams can't sustain them. It's truly horrible and is exploitation in the most apparent form. One studio was recently accused of violating the labor code. Employees worked nearly 400 hours per month and went 37 consecutive days without a single day off. A man animator's 2014 suicide was classified as a work-related incident after investigators found he had worked more than 600 hours in the month leading up to his death. Part of the reason studios use freelancers is that they don't need to worry about the labor code. Since freelancers are independent contractors, companies can enforce grueling deadlines while saving money by not providing benefits. And things go even further because anime studios make the anime, but the money to sponsor the project comes from committees. They are a group of entertainment companies that comes together to fund an anime series. Every member specializes in a different area, such as marketing, distribution, or merchandising, and splits the production costs. Keep in mind that production costs are not evenly split, which means certain members can make more money off of an anime's success. Additionally, not all members receive money from the same revenue streams. For example, anime studios don't get a considerable chunk of merchandise sales. A studio might see a few 100,000 yen per 1 million yen in merchandise sales. Also, not all studios have a seat on production committees, which can limit their potential profit. Committees typically pay animation studios a set fee and reserve royalties for themselves. While the system protects the studios from the risk of a possible failure, it also cuts them out of the profits created by hits. Rather than negotiate higher rates or profit sharing with the production committees, many studios have continued to squeeze animators, lowering costs by hiring them as freelancers. As a result, production costs for shows, which have long been well below those for projects in the United States, have remained low even as profits rise. Most anime studios are contractors. The production committee puts together a budget and hires a studio to work on the anime. Typically, a studio doesn't get to choose the anime they work on. so all the hard work will give you just around a mere $14.72. Most sources suggest they don't receive any more from higher-up jobs. The companies that offer salaries by the hour pay a little better, but a bit better is still not enough when the bar is already set this low. Animators in both these categories make less than Japan's minimum wage, which is around 874 yen or $8.06. If the merchandise brings too little to the studios, international licensing has become the lifeblood of anime. In 2015, licensing was the second largest revenue stream for the industry. This includes legal streaming and purchasing localized home video releases. Licensors don't report the revenue splits, but a portion goes back to animation studios. But for all these problems, we can't just blame the studios. Japan is very well known for its unique work culture. No one word in Japanese corresponds to the English word workaholism. However, the concept of working excessively hard is well understood in Japanese culture. In Japan, workaholism is often lauded as a positive trait. People who are considered workaholics are usually seen as being dedicated, disciplined, and hardworking. This can be a good thing, as it can lead to success in one's career. However, workaholism can also have negative consequences. People who work too much may not have enough time for their personal lives or hobbies. They may also become stressed out and burned out from working all the time. Workaholism is a severe problem in Japan. According to a survey by the Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare, about 20% of Japanese workers are at risk of developing karoshi, which means death by overwork. This is a genuine phenomenon in Japan, and it can be attributed to the country's culture of long hours and high expectations. But this problem did not appear out of nowhere, and 3 reasons led to this culture. The first reason dates back to the Meiji Restoration era in 1868. The feudal society of Japan wanted to reach the same economic level as rich, powerful, industrialized Western countries. And they did, but at a price. The arduous labor required to transform Japan into a modern, industrialized country left its workers scarred. While they managed to surpass many Western economies and become the world's 3rd largest economy, the workforce developed the habit of overworking. Secondly, the collectivist culture prevalent at the time expected workers to prioritize the company over themselves. In many cases, this allowed corporations to ignore their employees' rights. The labor unions were also too weak to push for policy reforms in favor of the workers. The third reason behind the Japanese trait of overworking has much to do with the cultural expectation of convenience. While 24/7 retail and delivery services are beneficial for customers, employees are stuck suffering with graveyard shifts to accommodate them. This strict work ethic has long been embedded in the minds of many Japanese people. It has even caused tragic cases of karoshi in some cases. Even in a country with a sometimes fatal devotion to the office, the anime industry is notorious for its brutal demands on employees. Animators speak with pride about such acts of devotion as sleeping at their studios for weeks on end to complete a project. Both the structure of the industry and the Japanese work culture are at the root of the problems. But there is another factor, and you know it very well, it is piracy. I'm sure that you watch anime on piracy sites. Let's be honest, everyone does it. You see, these sites are harmful to the studios, but this was not always the case. In the beginning, online piracy was the only way you could access anime if you weren't in Japan. That's why the sites rose in popularity. Many overseas fans credit them with introducing anime culture and promoting its growth. But times have changed. Now, online piracy sites are doing more harm than good. Or, at best, they've outstayed their welcome. That's because legal streaming sites like Funimation and Crunchyroll are rapidly gaining growth in overseas markets. Even though some content is locked behind specific regions, their libraries are expanding thanks to new deals. The anime industry no longer needs online piracy sites to promote itself. So, do we, the consumers, really need online piracy sites? The truth is, online piracy sites are hurting the anime industry right now. Studios and creators lose out on real money whenever a piracy site is used as a substitute for official streaming platforms. While you can enjoy handcrafted anime without paying a single dime, the cash generated through site ads doesn't go back to the creators either. That revenue only serves as profit for website owners. Even now, many people pirate anime online, even those who can afford to pay and support the anime industry. The existence of piracy sites gives them an easy way to not pay for the media they are consuming. And each customer counts. Every time a consumer chooses to pirate instead of paying for anime, it's a loss for the creators. When you add up the loss in potential revenue, the number jumps to astronomical levels. This problem isn't only limited to streaming. Many piracy sites offer links to anime merchandise that you can buy directly from them. It's a shame, because merchandise sales through action figures or clothing constitute a considerable revenue for the anime industry. None of this money goes into the hands of the official retailers or manufacturers of that merchandise. business. When piracy sites get away with selling merchandise like this, the industry is hurt. It means more people choose to buy from those sites instead of official retailers. This is why Japan is cracking down on online piracy. But what does the closure of piracy sites mean for anime fans who don't have access to good content? Or what about those who can't afford to pay for the subscription? The sad reality is they will get left out. They won't have access to premium anime content and have to pay a premium for a subscription that doesn't even offer all the shows they want. In regions like Africa and China, where accessibility remains a big issue, online piracy sites are the only way the anime fandom can grow. And without the growth of a fandom, investors of large streaming platforms won't find it profitable to operate in those regions. That's why online piracy isn't entirely harming the anime industry. In some areas, it can be a great facilitator of organic growth. As the community grows, more people will be willing to pay and support the creators in the long run. So how can we help them? Reducing online piracy won't solve the structural issues in the anime industry, but it will help little by little. More revenue for the anime industry will encourage more production companies to increase their budgets. That means studios can afford to pay their animators more. Funimation and Crunchyroll accounted for one of the most significant sources of revenue for the anime industry. That's a staggering amount of cash flow to the hands of the creators. More importantly, these Western platforms can impose better working conditions and hourly pay. Another partial solution could be for international studios to buck the established cultural norm and provide anime studios with the same budgets as Western studios. Another model could be allowing animators to retain the rights to their drawings and earn royalties. When Western companies like Netflix enter the market, they get to pay the dirt cheap, long-established Japanese prices. TV stations, merchandise companies, and foreign streaming services walk away with the profits, leaving individual animators struggling and entire studios scraping by on shoestring budgets. For everything you watch, read, and love, animators pay the price. Yet they draw on. Even if it means that fewer manga and anime get produced or more gaps between episodes, it would be a fair trade-off so that these talented people can sleep a bit more happily at night. Some of you might be thinking of becoming an animator. There have been animators that make it to Japan, and you know what? Some are doing just great if you are getting paid by an American company, while an animation career in America or in the Western world might be somewhat lucrative, fun, and even pays well enough to the point that you get all your needs met. An animator in Japan is not living such a great life. So American animation studios get 3 to 4 times the amount of money. So Japanese companies try to save money by hiring animators temporarily and not paying them as much. So animators in Japan make less than $1,000 per month and sometimes even less. Keep in mind that they go to an animation school as well. Animation companies don't even hire employees. They hire by the project, in other words, contract per episode or per anime. In recent years, some of the industry's larger companies have changed their labor practices after coming under pressure from regulators and the public. Netflix has also gotten involved, announcing that it will team up with Wit Studio to provide financial support and training to young animators working on content for the studio. But many smaller studios are barely scraping by and don't have much room to increase wages. The studios that manage to adapt are the big ones, the ones that are public and that have the most significant revenue. Not all studios pay such low wages. Kyoto Animation is known for choosing salaried employees in favor of freelancers, for example. But in the end, watching anime and buying merchandise from official sites is still the best way to support animators. Of course, piracy remains the best way to enjoy anime for many people. That's why it's essential to nurture the mindset of giving back to the industry. Sure, you might not be able to right now, but that doesn't mean you can't contribute in the future. As long as you are willing to offer help, no matter how small, it counts. As a result, more good-looking anime with high-budget animation would be created. Modern anime is one of the most beautiful art forms that exist today. It tells stories that make us cry, laugh, stare in awe, and remember fondly for years to come. We owe it to the brilliant minds who bring these stories to life with their hard work. It doesn't take much to help them out, but just like any problem, all we need to do is take that first step. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you like it, and don't forget to like and subscribe because new interesting videos will come soon. Until next time, take care of yourself. Peace.